Taking off lighting. Simple, quick, different ways of taking off lighting. There are a number of different ways of doing this, depending on the final result that you're looking to achieve. Number one here, quick item pads. So if I've got my various different quick item pads here, I can select the one that applies to my area here for lighting. And if I just had a couple of different types of light fixtures, something very quick, I can click on this. This is going to be an FR1, for example. I could throw an 8-foot whip on it, and I could use rapid count to count this, but in this case, I'm just going to throw a couple of these in and hit commit. They go into my estimate here. When I go to the summary screen, it is going to bring in everything that I need to install this. So I will get this lighting fixture here on the summary screen. I don't necessarily care about the cost if the owner is supplying this, for example. I will just leave this unit price as 0. I won't worry about creating a package or anything for this. But what does matter is the labor to install it. So even if the owner is supplying the lighting, you still have to carry the light fixture in here for the labor to bring it in. If I am strictly looking for counts for the light fixtures, so something very simple, I'm not interested in really having anything in here. I can also use some very simple bare bones typicals in here. So using FS1, for example, I can delete that here and I'll recreate it. So I can right click on here and say new typical. And I'm going to call this my FS1, make it a rectangle, give it some sort of color here, add that in. And what I can do now is go and edit this typical. So right click on it, hit edit. You'll see everything turn blue here. That means that any takeoff that you do right now will be going into this typical and not into your estimate. So I can add in a quick item here. I'm going to search for no cost. That's just my own shorthand, quick way of finding the light fixture tag here. When you double click on it, it's going to ask you for a tag name here and a quantity. Now there's a couple of really interesting things in here. I could type in FS1, but since I've got a few different light fixtures in here, I'm actually going to use this formula here, this equals square brackets assembly name. What that means is within this typical, this tag is going to take on whatever the name is of the typical here. And then I'm going to put 1 in, hit commit, and that goes in here now, and I'm going to save that. So anywhere where I go and count this typical, I can take off an FS1 here. If I go to my summary screen, I will see in here an FS1 tag right down here. So that is my count. There's nothing else in here. There's no labor for it. There's nothing but the count of that typical. But this does let me move very quickly in the estimate, because if I go back to my lighting drawing here, I also have these FS2s and various different other ones in here. I can simply right click on this typical, select copy, right click on my folder and select paste. And now I've got this copy in here, and then I can right click, select settings, and just rename it. Because I used a formula in the tag for this, it will always update to the name of the typical. And I might also want to change the color on it just so that it stands out a little bit better in my takeoff. And then when I double click on this, I can count a couple of these. And again, I could use rapid count, but I'm just doing this very quickly for demonstration. And when I come back to my summary here, I will now see down at the bottom, I have my count of 2 FS2s. And I can just copy that typical over and over again, and that will give me my counts. But it is not giving me any labor or anything for the installation of those lights. At a later time, I can come back to this and I can edit this typical, and I could add in, oh, let me just open the drawing there and go see what I'm looking at here. I need to open up my lighting drawing here. My FS1 is a 1x4 here. So if I come back to my FS1 here, edit the typical, I'm going to go to my lighting here again. I've got a 1x4 here. I can put a space in for the tag because the tag doesn't really matter. Put an 8-foot drop on it, and I just need one of these. And when I add that in, it goes into my typical now. When I save this typical, the system is going to go and update all instances of my FS1 with that new assembly. So when I expand this out, I will see that I now get everything I need to install that. So there's a couple of different ways to do your lighting takeoff here very quickly. Probably the fastest one, especially if you have fewer different types of light fixtures, is to use the quick item pad method here, because that will give you the labor right away for that, and the cable and accessories to install that fixture very quickly. But typicals can also be used to achieve that.